Okay, it's been a busy day of non-repairs, but this TV came in a couple of days ago, so I just need to sort this out and get it back to the customer. It's only a small bush TV, but it's not very old. Look at this. So you can always tell the date is in the brackets it was manufactured. So it's October 21. Well, mind you, we are 24 now. Sorry, I was just thinking this is just over a year old. But 3 years old. Well, 3 years and 1 month, okay. And I'm guessing it's the usual diodes in these, even though I thought Vestel had sorted the diodes out. But I'm guessing this is totally dead. Let's plug it in and see what she does. There's a standby light there, and I'll line up the camera anyway, but I don't think we're going to see anything. What? Hey? Okay, maybe it just holds onto the Bush logo. Well, obviously not. It's gone back to standby. Well, that's what it's supposed to do, I think. Let's try it again. Probably a firmware error. I ought to check the job sheet on this. I've literally just walked in, seen it in the queue and thought I better jump onto this. Has it gone? Yeah, it's going back to standby, isn't it? Red light is flashing. No. Let me check the job sheet. I've obviously messed up here, or the customer's messed up. Bound to be the customer, not me. I was getting ahead of myself. It's got a faulty HDMI on the back, apparently, so probably not working, or maybe it's loose. Let's have a look. You can probably tell from this angle, at this distance, that it looks a bit, what's the technical term? Wonky. Okay. You see, the problem with these is, unlike a PlayStation or an Xbox, etc., you can get the HDMIs separate and just solder them in, but these are completely different to those type of HDMIs, and they're very tricky to solder in. And as soon as you soldered a new one back in, I mean, I could take that one off, clean it up and solder it back in. The time it's taken for me to do that and stick a whole new board in. So whenever I get jobs that need HDMIs, and you'll be surprised how many we get, right, what I want is the 23 number down here. So come on, focus, focus, focus. This camera has been... Oh, 2366416. I've got one of these. I've got several of these. 6416. Yes, these are used. These are used in the Hitachis and the Polaroids. But it did have the Bush splash screen on it. Okay, let me see if I can find... Well, do you think the customer will mind the fact that it hasn't got the Bush logo on the screen? The apps will still be the same. But these are normally Hitachis and Polaroids, and they don't have a splash screen. Let me go and find a board first. I've got some of these. I've definitely got some of these. Give me a moment. And that is a Bush. Do you know how I can tell that's a Bush? Not just the 2-3 number, because the 2-3 numbers are the same for Hitachi, and they're the same for Polaroid. But the difference is this socket here. If the socket is black, it's for Hitachi. If the socket is a dark brown, it's for a Polaroid. If it's a light brown, it's a Bush. Crazy, huh? So this should be a Bush one, and rock solid HDMI. Let's stick it in, make sure that it works. Well, it all seems fine, but I will do a snooker test on this because I need to test the HDMI, don't I? So let me just set that up. Can I find a remote for this? Because the customer didn't leave a remote. Because I asked the customer not to leave a remote. I don't need it. Normally I don't need remotes, so I don't answer them. This being a newer Vestel, I may struggle to find one. Well, this is obviously one of my lucky days because I just find a Vestel on the top of the pile here and can give it a try with a volume, and lo and behold, it seems to work straight away. That'll never happen again. Don't believe it. I've got one of the oldest, not the oldest, but one of the oldest Vestel remotes you will find for an Hitachi. And it's working it. Well, the volume went up and down, I think. Yes. Let me just find out how to do the input on this. Where's the input? Source. HDMI. HDMI 1. Yes, it's detected it. Should be a game of snooker coming up. I've got quite a dodgy HDMI lead. Yeah, the picture's going because this HDMI lead it's one of the very expensive ones, but it's also very dodgy. it's very sensitive with TVs. It'll work. I keep saying I've got to get a cheap one. Okay, what I've done is I've screwed the TV back together because I'm convinced that the problem I've got is with the HDMI lead and not the board that I've just put in. But of course there's always that nagging doubt at the back of your mind because this TV has come in with a HDMI issue. So I'm going to go looking for some more HDMI leads. Just found a very long old HDMI lead. Again, it's one of these heavy duty ones. I don't usually buy heavy duty ones, but I'm a bit nervous at the moment that because the TV has come in for a HDMI problem and I've still got a HDMI problem, I need to make sure. So I'm just going to swap the leads over. And swapping over to this other HDMI lead, which is, you just saw, it's another one of these heavy duty ones. It didn't look in the best nick, to be honest with you, but I just wanted to test. Well, I can't get a picture at all on this one. Absolutely nothing. Okay, seems like that lead is... The heavy duty ones are rubbish. I've just got a cheap one here, but it's got a rectangle plug on it. I don't care as long as it works. Well, now I'm beginning to think that this main board has got a HDMI issue, because that's the third HDMI lead that I'm having problems with. But that's just too much of a coincidence for 3 HDMI leads to be faulty. And they're all quite expensive ones. Got to find a cheap one. Cheapest normal HDMI lead. I'm beginning to think that all my HDMI leads are faulty and I just forget to throw them away. This is one of those cheap 99p HDMI leads, which is absolutely fine. But I was just getting nervous because it was a HDMI fault it came in with. And I thought with that heavy duty lead that I plugged in first of all may have broken this HDMI cable. I'm just going to wiggle it about a bit and check. No, it seems to be okay. But I couldn't have sent that back to the customer without being reassured that the HDMI that was broken in his is now working correctly. It's a minefield of these HDMI. Never buy expensive HDMI leads. Mind you, the trouble is, you're supposed to plug in a HDMI lead and leave it for years. Obviously, in this business, I'm unplugging and plugging and unplugging and plugging, so that doesn't help. Anyway, Bush TV, back to working order. But my dodgy remote won't switch it off. Oh, okay, so I just have got a dodgy remote. That was weird. But that's enough for tonight. Thank you.